Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my Independence Report. And welcome. This is my Independence Report, and I have an announcement, not an announcement to make. What would it be? It would be a breaking news. We think Matt has been abducted by aliens because he was supposed to be here and he's not here. So we'll see what his experience was like when he comes back from being abducted, because they're going to do some sexual experimentation on him, I think.
If they ask you to bend over, don't bend over, Matt.
In any event, Eric Hall is with us, Kayla May is with us, and Rhea is with us, and she's going to be popping in, I'm just sure, from time to time. She's Kayla May's 3-year-old, and she's an adorable child. And so this is great fun, but I don't know what happened to Matt, so I guess we'll just continue. Eric, what are we going to talk about today?
Gosh, there's a couple of great subjects today. Of course, it can't be, it's not a day in June 2021 without talking about the upcoming UFO report from the Pentagon itself. You know, they're leaking all kinds of stuff every day. And it's a subject that on everybody's mind since the history of man. So this is huge. Whatever comes out, it's going to affect us for the rest of our lives. So that's one of the topics, and I'm excited to get your guys' perspective on what's going on and how you guys feel about it. And I've got all kinds of thoughts. This is something I've been looking forward to for as long as I've been aware of science fiction, which was, gosh, when did you start reading science fiction, you guys?
Long time ago. Matt apparently has returned to the land of the living.
Can he sit?
He just doesn't have the deal to get on. So I'm sending him that right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So hopefully.
Good.
And
okay.
Undo and
thank God. And then, of course, the other subject that's huge on everybody's mind, and this is what's great about living in the 21st century, and this is Gay Pride Month.
Yes.
And this is something that is worldwide. It's not just in the U.S., it's everywhere. And yeah.
Now, you said it appropriately that it would be kind of weird that we were linking UFOs to gay pride, but
yeah, we should make that clear. These are two different subjects, and by no means meant to be related.
Exactly. Well, I'm interested to know that because you had a symbol that you put up, and I had to go look it up to see what it was.
Oh, ally.
Yes.
I am a LTGB ally, which means I fully support people's right to live and choose their own lives and love the people that they want and fulfill themselves on a daily basis.
Speaking of being fulfilled, Matthew, were you abducted by aliens?
Yes, I was. You're not going to believe what happened.
Oh, no.
Kayla, I lost that script. What am I supposed to say?
That's all you, honey. All you.
Okay, they won't suspect.
So we're going to talk about aliens today, and because it's I was reading a report this morning, guys and gals, that the number of news reports that are coming out is kind of like the early days of the pandemic. That it was coming out by little bit, and then it started to cascade out and stuff. They're talking about now. Today, I read that there's a possibility that UFOs shut down our nuclear capabilities. Did you guys hear this one?
No, I didn't hear that.
Matthew's shaking and nodding his head appropriately. Did you hear that, man?
Back in the 70s, Newsweek magazine and some others over United States missile silo, Red China, and Russia. They showed a triangular formation of 3 UFOs that used a laser beam to connect one another to form a triangle, and then it spread out like an octopus arms around the general area over these missile silos. And this was well-written pictures because I believe Red China and Russia, their silos were in the middle of big cities. But it was that way for a few hours. You could only get a buzz if you turned on a radio, and it was all said and done. The nuclear arms were dismantled. But here the world was watching that. That's back in the 70s. Then they went quickly, hush, hush. There's always been reports like that over silos.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that that would be that's a problem, but that's just another one of the reports, just another one of the reports. So let's get down to it. Eric, do you think there's a chance that this is true, or is it just like another conspiracy theory?
I would put faith in that it's true. I would put faith that at some point we've been visited and they're keeping an eye on us for our own damn good.
That could be. Kayla, what do you think?
Oh, they've been here for a long time.
And Matthew?
I agree.
Well, one of us has to disagree or we won't have a show.
That leaves you, man.
Well, let's just say that I think that you can go way, way, way down the rabbit hole if you're not careful with this information. We were talking on Monday with Regan and you can go listen to that. It's near the end of it, and they were talking about a gentleman that swears that there are 3 civilizations living on Mars, and that we have been in armed conflict with them for years and years and years. And so it's a war that nobody knows about, and apparently nobody, I don't know, but I think you can go way, way too far with some of the ideas. But then on the other hand, anything's possible, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think if there was a war in the way that we think of things blowing up and assets being taken away and people dying, we'd probably know about it. It might explain why portions of the population disappear, but there isn't enough of that for somebody to hold a war that, we would think of as a conventional war. I would support Kayla's idea that they've been here forever in the way that I think we've been genetically engineered. I don't think we're natural to this planet. I look at the behavioral patterns of other species, and we're the ones that are oppository to the planet, not the other ones. And you look at the traditional tribes and like the ones in the Amazons, the ones we talked about before, ones in Africa that are still living in the traditional ways, they don't even conceive of an economy that is destructive to the planet.
Right. Well, they live in harmony with the planet.
Exactly. And they revere that as a spirit, as the mother. So, whatever we are, I don't consider us natural to this planet.
Well, I tend to agree. And, we could end up understanding a lot more about things like Stonehenge, the pyramids, the Sphinx, other things that we even today don't really know how they were built, and how concise and precise the everything was when they were put together. Matthew?
There was a fascinating documentary in regards to what Eric was saying, how man is not indigenous to this planet, and how we keep coming here being something that has to battle, wear clothing, catches these obscure diseases, trying to survive, and the animals have a consistency. They're doing just fine. But it was just amazing how they took it apart, and one scientific excuse, reason after another, that, hey, we're not from here. We can't quite adapt perfectly either.
Well, Eric, go ahead, turn it on. You got it.
Well,
See?
you look at our closest primate brothers that are what 99% genetically copies of us.
Yeah,
Isn't that an accurate figure? They
I
have
don't.
everything they need, and they use tools. They use the subtle. They use rocks and they use sticks. They even fish. They even do a certain amount of farming.
Mm-hmm.
They have everything they need to get by in this world, and they've done so forever. And their evolutionary process is so much slower than ours. Like last time, I think we discussed the Neanderthals and how they had the same tools for 100,000 years.
Yep.
Now, in my mind, and I'm not an anthropologist, but in my mind, that speaks to their spiritual aspects of being happy with their place in the universe, right?
Yep.
Because they live side by side with humans. And word is that we bred them out, right? Because
Yeah.
let's face it, humans will breed with anything. That's why we have glory holes. so
Well, we'll leave that to somebody's imagination. Although I do have to say, this is just a totally total aside. But I was listening to the radio yesterday, and they were talking about two different games. One game was, I forget what it was called, but it was a chasing something around, and the other one they called cornholing. And I can't imagine. Now this. Are you familiar with? See, the term that I'm used to with cornholing is a completely different thing than Eric.
Are we talking something about glory holes?
You just made me go down that rabbit hole. I'm sorry. But in any event, so Matt, I wanted to ask you, getting back on topic, I wanted to ask you, do you think that it could possibly be another country that has developed the technology, or is the technology way beyond what any other country can do?
From all the documentaries I've watched, when we've had our Area 51 Rockwell incidences where something superior crashed, it was for us to reverse engineer so we could speed up our technology. So when we crossed that line, I would say that was something we taught from whoever sent it down here to begin with, but it's not originally ours. There is a film of Adolf Hitler and of Churchill and Roosevelt, each taking time up in Antarctica, because supposedly there was a lot of alien base up there during the war, and they were seeing firsthand advanced life forms not from here. And supposedly the Germans who invented the rocket, the idea came from that.
Huh. Yes, Eric.
If it's not us, with the budget in the military that equals, what is it, 12 countries behind us combined,
Yep.
still have, spend less on their military budget than we do, then there isn't anybody out there that has the budget capacity to do what we can't do and what we have to reverse engineer to figure out what's going on. So I refuse to accept that whatever it is out there is by another country on this planet. It just can't be.
Now, Kayla, you also are a psychic person, and what does that tell you on that side of it?
They've been here for a really long time, I think. If you go back based on the Egyptian things that you watch and the pyramids, they have the symbols and the markings that have came from them. Where'd these symbols come from? They came from somewhere. Where is our technology coming from? It came from somewhere. It didn't come from this world. It's been so advanced that it's been around for so long. We're just now trying to get caught up with it. We're like the Jetsons,
So I guess, yeah. So I guess if they've been here forever and they've been watching us forever, they must be malevolent. They must be looking out after us and not wanting to be destructive for us. What do you thoughts? Anyone?
I don't
Sure.
feel they can harm us. I think they did a long time ago, but to my understanding, they used to take cows for their things. And when they broke that treaty and started taking people, they are no longer allowed to take any new people. They have to continue taking the cows.
A treaty
Unless
with
it's already the people they've already taken. Please stop.
Matt.
In 1976, 77, it was all over the newspapers that one winter there was a whole barrage of UFO sightings that came from the Pacific Ocean, went through Oregon, part of Idaho, and Washington. This is the wintertime. And many, many cows were found in the snow that had a perfect circle around them, and the blood was taken out. And some of them had had sophisticated surgery that took components from their ears out, among other things, that was beyond the technology we had. But there were hundreds of cows, hundreds of reports, pictures, front page news, right around the time when those UFOs formed a triangle laser pattern over the missile silos.
Eric?
And then it went away. Then they stopped talking about it.
Yeah. Eric?
Well, if there was a treaty and they broke their treaty, and they meant to do us harm, they would have done it long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'd be aware that they're doing us harm. I think they're simply observing. And I think this report is brought on by a matter because they don't have a choice now. Since everybody in the, what is it? How many 8 billion phones in the world now? Smartphones? Is that the correct number? 8 billion? I read once.
I don't know. I know there are close to 8 billion people. So I'm sure there are pockets that there aren't. But there are lots of phones everywhere.
There's phones. There are billions of phones out there with the capability of uploading live action shots. I could turn on my live stream now and record this show that you're recording. Anybody that's going to the grocery store can film themselves going to the grocery store and picking up Hot Pockets. So if there was something going on, we'd be fully aware of it. It's just a matter of, no matter how many people would be scared and not to think to turn on their phone, there are that many people that would remember to turn on their phone. So these creatures that have the capability of breaking a contract with whatever entity that's in charge of this world to don't take people anymore, finish up on the cows, and then we'll throw you some homeless people. And they break that contract. Who's policing this? We don't have power over these creatures. They can do anything they want to us. There is no organization that I believe that can control the alien to say, no, don't do that again, or we're going to retaliate. We'll pee on your electronics if you do that again.
Exactly. Matt?
From all the documentaries, the books, lectures I've attended, we are an experiment here, that they are monitoring, watching us grow, and every so often they guide us. Now, supposedly, and I mentioned this on a last show, that Dwight Eisenhower, among other presidents, had a physical one-on-one contact with the so-called alien who greatly looked like a human, who they would sit down and talk with. And I have a picture of him. I got to dig it up. And then we have what happened in Chehalis, Washington in 1947, a guy flying from Yakima to Chehalis. And that was the day, well, that's an unidentified flying object. That was the day the word UFO was officially created. And from that point forward, they started keeping record. In regards to records, in March 1st, 1639, at Massachusetts Bay Colony, John Winthrop gave the first official report of a UFO. He and others saw it, and he vows that nobody was drunk. These were all honest men. And then in the nearby town of Charleston, they had the same reports at the same time. and it was the light objects going fast, moving around, hanging around for a few hours, and then flew off and dissipated. But many recorded that. March 1st, 1639, Massachusetts.
Now, I question the fact that they weren't drinking, because in those days, that's all they did was drink. But in those days, they had a much higher tolerance, I would imagine, because that's what they did. They drank. And
they didn't have to drive.
Yeah, they just had to not fall off the horse.
That's right.
So,
George Washington had a comparable report.
Really? George Washington?
Yes, he did. There's documentaries on that. He said that when they were going down a river, I'm not sure if it was the Potomac or not, that they saw something come out of the water and fly above it and take off and come back. And he and several others wrote about it and then reported that. So that stuff, well after the pyramids and way before our time, it's there too.
See, George Washington doesn't lie.
They've been hiding this, though, throughout all presidencies, though. This has been tucked under and kept secret forever.
Right. Even Trump has chimed in on aliens.
Oh, because he knows it's been hidden. He just thinks the universe deserves to know about it.
Yeah.
Hey, this is real.
Yeah, and if there was a president that was going to talk, it would be Trump.
Yep,
Bring
exactly.
go ahead, Matt.
Jackie Gleason had a close friendship with Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon, even though it was taboo, he tipped his hand a little bit, having a great interest in this topic. After Jackie Gleason's death, his wife sat down and said, look, Richard Nixon came by, drove him to Cape Canaveral. When he came home, he wouldn't talk for days. And he finally said he was taken into the room after, get smart, all these bolted rooms, one after another, that last door. And he saw the aliens that were dissected, the ones that were in a solution, a wide variety, not just one or two of them. But Nixon showed him what he was talking about. These are the aliens that we got from crash sites and so forth.
Interesting. Well, you would think with as much technology as they had, they wouldn't crash. Eric?
Yeah, it's inevitable that eventually we pick up a body or two. And what's surprising about that, because how inefficient is it to send something across the universe that would hold physical bodies, sustain them through the travel? We, conceive that as inefficient. We would simply send a robot. In fact, we send robots out. We send a robot out in Mars. We send a robot out into the universe. Take pictures of this so we understand it better. This is either how far advanced that they are, or how important it is that they keep an eye on us. Now, here's another perspective. If they're in physical proximity where we have bodies and we have, crash sites and we're storing bodies, and there might be somebody walking around in the Pentagon and, talking to different governments and helping keep an eye on us and hoping at some point that our civilization advances to a certain point where they can have an intelligent conversation about what goes on into the rest of the universe. Here's something that we have to think about. Because 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when you bought a car, you bought a manual that told you everything about how to repair your car. Every 6 months, take off the head gasket, change the oil. This is the order of items that you remove and so forth. Now, when you get that owner's manual, in that owner's manual somewhere, it'll tell you, don't drink the fluid out of the battery. So I ask you, have we advanced, have we kept up with the technology that we're using, or have we not kept up with the technology that we're using? So is our oversight winning or losing?
I don't know, Matthew. What do you think?
I have a question for the panel and for anybody who wants to call in. There's an awful lot of talk theory. Are aliens amongst us? Okay. Feedback. Who has to say anything about that?
Yes.
You can't
They,
just
wa-
get
they,
by
walk, they
with-
walk among us just like we walk among ourselves every day. They're disguised. They look just like us. They can disguise themselves to look just like us. There could be one sitting right next to you as you're eating lunch somewhere, and you don't even know.
Are they our DNA blood brothers, and we came from the same place, and so we're considered kind of cousins, and they're looking out after their stupid little cousins? Matthew?
One of my documentaries in the 70s in Los Angeles, there was a guy who looked like 1970s, like you would expect to see at a construction site or a rock concert, just a run-of-the-mill American male. He was dead in a car. They found out that his ID was fake. He had ID, but it didn't trace anywhere. His blood type was different. He had no fingerprints. And even though from across the street, he's just one of us, his body apparently could not survive here, our atmosphere. And where did he come from? He's not from here. He's not from one of us.
Eric, what do you think?
Well, I think it's entirely possible. There's a reason why Disneyland is popular with us. Disneyland, Disney World, because we like to go somewhere and have a fantasy. There's a reason why we have exotic travel excursions to Africa to look at these original.
Uh-oh. Everybody else still moving? He's been frozen by a laser.
The
Breaking
cone of
news.
silence got him.
There we go. So why not go to Earth and hang out with the monkeys?
Yeah. Well, so you're saying that we're a tourist trap destination point.
Well, we could be. I still think if they're out there keeping an eye on us, it's best that we don't know about it. Not yet. I don't think we're ready. I don't think we can conceive it. Not as a general population, but I'm not going to commit to anything as factual yet.
Matt.
Does anybody here have anything to say about the statues they see on Easter Island and other places?
Oh yeah.
They don't know how in the hell that happened. That's one of those things. And the other one is when you see in fields in Peru and in Mexico and other places, you see shapes and pictures that you can only see from the air, and they were done hundreds of years ago, and nobody was flying around that we knew hundreds of years ago. So that's there's lots of circumstantial evidence that says that we didn't do everything that we see. It's like Stonehenge and Easter Island, and there are pyramids in South America, there are pyramids in Mexico, there are pyramids in obviously Egypt. We don't know how they got there, who developed the technology to do all that, and of them. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say some of them are, if you line them up, they are geographically aligned like a flight path would be, or other things like that. So they can put all that together, and yet our government says, well, hell, I don't know. It could be, but I don't know. We haven't got no evidence for or against. And so, and this report that's coming out on the 25th, it's been leaked a lot that that's exactly what they're going to say. I don't know. Could be, maybe. I don't know.
Many.
Yeah. Matt?
They claim that when they reverse engineered what they found at Roswell, New Mexico, that's what introduced the concept of a transistor, that it came from what we discovered at that wreck site.
Well, that could be too. Well, and things have advanced so much that we're all sitting here. I pay in 2003 or 2002. I paid $3,500 for a computer that can't do what this can do. So we have advanced a great degree. I'm concerned that as people, we have not advanced as much as our technology has advanced, and I think that's probably what they're worried about. Eric, what do you think?
Oh, I think that's hitting it on the head, Kevin. Like I said in those owners manuals, it's a funny comment, but it's absolutely true, because there are people out there that will drink battery acid.
Yeah, we're
This
not
is
doing-
terrible. This hurts, and they swallow more.
Yeah.
We're stupid. We're stupid. There's not very many of us that can build a car. It took me. I'll confess, man. I spent 25 minutes trying to change the tail light on my stupid Fiat
I know
before the show. I was almost late.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. It's not as easy as my 96 F-150. I'll give you that. But it took me 25 minutes to change a light bulb. How many Erics does it take to change a light bulb? Huh?
It's an older model vehicle. That's why.
That's right. You unscrew to the left and tighten to the right in a 96. In a Fiat, you could need an Allen wrench of one size, a Phillips screw on another size, and then you got to toggle the bulb in one way, and you got to see that all of the Allen wrench comes out, because otherwise you got to break them off, which I did, because one of them didn't come out. Didn't matter. But anyway.
And heaven help you if your check engine light comes on.
Which is nice about an electric vehicle.
Oh, but they don't have a check engine light?
No, they've got obnoxious, computer lights, but no engine, no engine light.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So, it's all very interesting. Where do you think, if you had to guess, and Kayla May, I'm going to have you put on your prognosticating hat. If you had to guess what's going to happen in the near future with all these sightings, and are they going to show up, or are they just tantalizing us?
The world's not ready. We're not ready as people. Just like we're not ready to see Bigfoot. This is why they took Tesla's work way back then when he made a UFO. The government took his paperwork. So what does that have to say? We're not ready for it. We're not ready for that advanced technology.
No, we'd kill each other.
Uh-huh.
We would absolutely kill each other. I had to laugh, and this is again off topic, but you know how I am. I just keep going. Off. Anyway, there was a gentleman talking about the Second Amendment, and he was worried that they were going to take his gun away. And I read a report that there are 390 million guns in the United States. 390 million guns. I would be curious to know how he thinks the government can't hardly get your check out on time. How are they going to be able to take 390 million guns from the citizenry? So, and that's that's not going to happen. So we're still not in a place. We've got more guns. Eric was talking about the military spends more money than the top 12 or 13 countries combined. We have more guns than the top 25 countries combined. And they spend a lot of time hanging around our area. I think they're watching us to make sure that we don't do anything stupid, because we're liable.
Too late.
So I this is what I think. You guys tell me if you agree to disagree. I think that they get here via a wormhole from where they are. They've discovered the way to travel past the speed of light through these wormholes that are natural phenomenon. They've just discovered them, and that they live in the ocean, and they've got their actual cities. Since 95% of the ocean is not explored, and they can travel in space, in a negative environment, or in a weightless environment, and they can travel underneath the sea And I think that's where a lot of them are. Kayla's nodding her head, so I guess I'm close.
And no, that's what I feel like. That's my personal opinion, is that they're underneath in the ocean. Look at all the new species that are coming up that look just completely out of this world. And there's over thousands of them that are just now coming up to the surface that we've never seen before. So a part of me feels like, yes, they're down there, they're under there, just like how they think Sasquatch is. And it has all these underground places and stuff. But they're also up there. They're from there. And I also think Bigfoot's from up there too and came down on a ship as well. But that's another day.
Well, Bigfoot could be a pet.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? But I don't know. So, Eric, what's your hypothesis
about Bigfoot being a pet?
No,
I'd rather have a pit bull, or maybe a Siberian tiger.
Yes.
Over a Bigfoot.
Oh, I've got to tell you.
Yes.
The interview that I'm having after this one is a lady who's written a novel, and it's called. Oh, well, keep talking. I'll get the name of it here in just a second.
A B C D E F G H I J K.
Come on, keep talking, children.
Now we can't think of things to say.
Our host just left. No, I'm just kidding.
Are you guys dependent upon me to keep
when you guys say down from I would think Bigfoot would be interdimensional species, and I think that's what aliens really are, rather than traveling from distance. I think they're interdimensional, and distance is really a different dimension rather than, Pacerius or some other planet. Yes.
Okay, speaking of tigers, like you just were, the gal who's going to be on at 3:00 has written. It's a spiritual suspense thriller, and it's called "Tigers Love Bubble Baths and Obsession Perfume." Who knew?
Who knew? Who tried that?
Apparently, it's in her book. Wow. And stuff. But it's an award-winning book, and it was a #1 seller. So it's
fascinating, man.
Yeah. So she's going to be on at 3,
cool.
Right, kind of, sort of after this one.
Very cool.
Yeah. So in any event, Matt, what do you think?
What you said about that they could be here. I've always had a fascination with haunted reports because I lived in a few places where I've seen it. And then there are people that say, well, wait a minute, maybe this is affiliated with that alien stuff. Well, I'm on this side of the fence, so I don't know if it's left or right. Years ago, when I was at a place that I had to sign papers by the realtor that I'd been informed it was haunted, everything seemed fine. And then one summer day, we had the door open with the screen door closed. We heard these loud footprints coming up the walkway, and we're inside the living room, and something grabbed the door mechanism. You know, when you got to push it with your thumb, those screen doors, it kept fighting and flexing it the way I had to open it. And then it popped it open. And so now it's going against the spring and coral and did kind of a jitterbug loud dancing thing. And I looked at it, and we didn't see a silhouette. We just saw the door and everything and heard the footprints. And who was with me? I said, well, that kind of affirms what they told me. Well, years later, somebody said, no, that might have been an alien. It might, well, I don't know. Whatever it was, I couldn't see it, but I saw what it did. Is it one side of the fence or the other, or do they kind of have a mix? What's going on here?
Wow. Well, I have a couple of things to say about that. First thing is, that was some realtor. If she, before you bought the house, said it's haunted.
The owner sat me down and explained it to me. They walked me around the place, showed me what happened, and they said, now, do you still want to buy it? And I go, oh, yeah, now I really want to buy it. Never saw anything except that one time just before I moved out of it.
So then I got a question for the three of you, as bright people that you are, because, we tend to think of things in a straightforward manner. You go to heaven, you go to hell, and it's easy, and you're going to spend your life on a cloud doing nothing after you die and all of that. And all these conspiracy theories don't mean anything. is this place that we live, Kayla, I'll start with you. Is this place that we live in a dimension that we inhabit a hell of a lot more complicated than we think it is?
Can I be skipped for a minute? I gotta comprehend and sink this all in for a second.
Okay, she's gonna pass. Eric, what do you think?
Can we? Wow, that is a loaded question, man, with a lot of directions. I think that is a huge door opening for why reincarnation exists.
Aha.
And why I believe it exists, and I think it is also a reason why we have a certain amount of input on what life that we end up with. I don't know if we get to physically choose. Yeah, I'll take those parents there, and I think I don't know how far it goes. I'd like to be an American in the 21st century. I don't know if we get to choose it in that way, or if we get a highlight of lessons that are laid out there for us to have the opportunity to learn. I think it's more in that direction than anything specific. And I think there is something about groups of souls traveling together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a good explanation of that. And what happens outside of that realm, I do believe that souls do come into different spheres of existence. I think it is totally possible for a soul to travel and experience for generations what it's like to be an earth creature, and then go off to Venus and know what it's like to be a Venus creature for several generations, and then sit back and chat with whoever's involved and say, huh, it's kind of fun. I think something like that.
What if I were to tell you that? Okay, go ahead, Matt, because mine's going to take a minute.
We're always told that if we knew what was hidden from us, that there'd be pandemonium riots, that we wouldn't be able to handle it. And so I think you're opening up something there beyond us. The alien stuff, it's like, how would I put it? They're finding a hard way to prepare us for what we're going to be told. But what's the original question you had, Kevin? Yes, I think we're greatly blind and have no idea how complicated, complex, what is going on, how meaningless and peon we are as human beings. We're just a little grain of sand. We don't know the big picture, but we're a little part of it.
Well, we are empty and meaningless until we fill ourselves up with whatever we'd like and decide what meaning we're going to have. That's my philosophy anyway. But I would tell you that what if, picture this, Eric, because I agree with you. But picture this. On the other side, the vibrational level is so high that you can't see the other side. Our eyesight doesn't allow it, and we don't allow it. But on the other side are literally billions of souls. And these souls all are working in conjunction with each other to achieve what each individual soul wants to learn and achieve through their lifetimes. And they get support from literally hundreds and thousands of souls that are there to make sure that the planets run efficiently and that they're Mother Nature. They are working with aliens. They're working with other teaching us how to survive in other environments. Like there could be bird people, there could be fish people that have an intelligence to them, and they live on other planets, and because that's the nature of what that planet is. But it's all done through the source, and it's not a matter of different figments or different factions and different folks that are fighting each other, and there's a good and there's evil and all that stuff. No, it's very harmonious. It's all filled with love, and you get to, on the other side, do exactly what it is that you want to do. And yes, you do pick your parents because you need to learn. They're going to provide you with things in their life, in your life through them, that are going to teach you what you want to know in this lifetime. Okay, who thinks that I'm about to be committed? There are guys at my front door.
No. I've got a question. Have you guys? It's a kid movie, but my son got me to watch this, and it's called Soul. And he looked at me and he goes, "Mama," and he goes, "This is how I think souls are based on. I think this is where we come from." So I sat down and I watched this movie Soul with my son, and it was everything that you just explained, Kevin, and then some.
Yes.
That's that animated one by Pixar.
Mhm.
Pixar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
It is
Yet.
the cutest movie ever. If you want a good laugh, go ahead and watch it. And a tear too, because I probably cried.
Okay.
Because I honestly think that this is not as evil and as desperate a place as we make it out to be, because everything here is temporal. Your body is going to decompose and die, and at that point, it's like your F-150. When you're done driving your F-150, you're not going to give a damn where it goes.
Don't
You're done
say
driving.
that. No, I'm willing that to Smithsonian. I love my
Are you?
F-150. Yeah.
Well, then you are definitely a truck guy. My son's a truck guy too.
Is he?
But I had my first
Maybe
car
I'll
was
loan it to him.
my first car was a Plymouth Fury 3,
Cool.
and with a 383 engine in it.
Nice.
And I sold it to a guy. He got into an accident with it. Still, the engine wouldn't shut off. But I don't care where that car was. And when I had it, it was important for me to have. But after that, that's how our bodies are. Once we're done with them, we're done with them. We go on. We're doing other stuff. We go back to the other side. My dad, who loved to play golf, is up there playing golf with his friends because that's what he chooses to do. Then eventually, they're gonna say, you know, don't you think that you've played enough and that you ought to go back and do some work? And then he'll pick his parents, and he'll pick the life, and he'll pick his body, and then he'll come back here or somewhere else, and it can be a civilization that is more complex or less complex. I think that we have gotten a lot more complex in the last 100 years. You know why?
Technology.
No, indoor plumbing.
Indoor plumbing?
Indoor plumbing. That's why we have 7 billion people on the planet, and that's which is more people living today than have ever lived through the history of mankind.
Because of hygiene?
Yeah, because of indoor plumbing. Hell yes. Who wants to go outside in Minnesota to go use the White House in January?
Huh.
I do believe he thinks I'm serious.
Ah, well, you could be. You could be.
No, that's true. So Kayla, is that kind of your understanding?
Yes. It's mine. I feel like right here, right now, and what presents itself in front of us every day is a blessing. It just depends on how we look at it. It could be hell. It could be a nightmare if you want to live with anger and fear and anxiety and depression and all this. But if you look at things on the bright side, it's sun shining out right now. You've got flowers in full bloom. You've got green grass, green trees. So in my perspective, I look at the world as we are living in a magical place right now. And when we leave our souls, we're even in even more of a magical place and doing bigger and better things and coming back another person. So there's a lot to go about.
Exactly. Matt, you've suddenly gone nuclear silent.
I found one of those pictures I was talking about. And again, it's a picture on the internet, so is it or isn't it? But here, if we could see him, see that guy?
Oh, is that the dead man?
No, this is the one that would go to the Eisenhower. They would send their guy out.
He kind of looks like Matt.
Yeah.
He does.
But supposedly, and again, this is on the internet, so number
Same
one,
haircut.
Yep.
or is it not? But supposedly he represented life out there, and he coordinated with our government to give a talk, and they'd pick him up in some neighborhood. He said he would be, there's this regular guy that looks odd. They get him in the car, take him to the White House. They're familiar with who he is. He's been making contact. And basically the belief is he was talking about that we were getting ahead of ourselves and nuclear weapons and stuff. So That's what I was referring to. I've seen documentaries on them, read articles. That's a picture I was talking about. Now, did somebody just put it out there, or do we got a security leak somewhere? Which way does it go?
Matt, I got a question for you. Do you have any pictures of you as a younger man?
Yes, I do.
Are you
Can we see
sure?
those? Can we see those?
We need verification and proof.
You know the old pictures where you have to hold up and let the light come through to see the imprint?
Uh-huh.
Negatives, yes.
We got a picture of my dad's father through one of those things. And then my dad and myself, all at age 7, we look identical.
Wow.
Huh? Were you a clone of your dad, do you think?
No, he had an IQ off the charts. He was an Ivy Leaguer. I went to Washington State. What does that tell you? Yeah.
You're responsible for the cows being butchered.
And drinking a lot of alcohol.
Yeah, well, it does come with the territory over there. There ain't nothing else to do over
back
there.
in those days, yeah.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Are you sure that we can? Next time you come on, I want a younger picture of you because I think that you look the same over the last 50 years.
And I'd like a timestamp of you and the picture of the guy you just showed us. And I'd like to see that they're in different places at the same time.
Yes, indeed.
These shows I've watched of people who claim they were abducted, the ones that seem to be kind of legitimate, they might have something here. They said all of them had green eyes, the same rare blood type. They were all actually genetically related somehow. And so they had things in common, which is kind of painting the picture that specific ones they're watching through the years, supposedly.
Which is interesting because why them? You know, there's got to be a reason why they're watching them.
Maybe it's their green eyes that they are. They really are not from here.
Were they placed here and they're watching them grow, like when they tag a fish and see where it travels?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm guessing.
That makes sense, sure. So how come have we really been keeping an eye? We talk about the ocean and them living in the ocean, and Kayla's pointed out how many creatures have come out of the ocean. Now, octopus have shown to be the most complex creature that there is as far as the measure of intelligence. Yes,
the
ma'am.
Octopus, they say, because I did research on that recently, they say it's not indigenous. It's not from here.
Really?
They say the octopus does not come from squid or anything. It has no family line. It was simply here when life was going on.
There's a movie on Netflix. It's just an incredible movie. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah, I did.
Boy,
You
just a sec. Just the photography of him going through the underwater. What were they? Vine fields or what? What? It looked like trees that were underwater and stuff. I can't remember. Do you remember, Eric?
The kelp forest.
Yes, the kelp forest.
Yeah,
that was incredible.
It was just astounding.
And this octopus and this man actually became friends,
which is significant. Now, it's significant because if you guys probably have noticed that animals treat us differently than they do other animals, right?
Generally speaking.
And it's not always out of fear. There's something that they know about us, which has to suggest that they're in the know when they use their intelligence to make a determination about us. You know, one of the significant scenes in that movie was the octopus was touching him. And as you guys know, they gather a lot of information from their suckers. Each of those suckers have their own thinking and thought process that is part of their overall brain, right? Their sensory conductors are off the charts compared to ours. What they bring in a moment is huge. And dolphins treat us differently. Whales treat us differently. Any animal that we encounter, they know who we are, and they regard us as something different. And it's not always out of fear. They're not running from us because of guns, though sometimes they probably are. But they also make attempts sometimes to help us Like there's lots of stories of people swimming in the ocean and whales coming to protect us, or dolphins after centuries of us hunting their species to where they're gone. Why would they do that? They must have some vested interest. Maybe it's as simple as let the aliens mess with them, because if the aliens stop messing with them, they're going to come for us. Or, or there might be something good hearted about it. Like these poor souls have lost their way. We have to look out for them.
Matt?
Now, an octopus, as we know, you cut off a part of its arm, it'll grow back. And so that's a feature. Does anything else on the planet do that? Like crustaceans, will a crab do that?
Yes.
Okay, well, there's a gap there that's pretty superior.
That's right.
Well, and actually in that film, that documentary that I watched, the octopus did lose a tentacle, an arm, to a shark. And his arm grew back over time. It was pretty incredible. And that's I got another question for you guys, talking about animals and how does a salmon get born in a particular place, leave for 5 years, and then come back and know to come back to that same place to have to lay its eggs? How does that happen?
I'd sure like to ask them where my keys are. I lost those last week, and apparently Savick can remember where to go after not seeing it for 5 years. Got a better memory than me.
So, Matt, do you have any idea?
I know what you're talking about. It's so simple, but it's superior, and it's beyond us.
We couldn't do it. As a human, there's no way that we could be born in a place and go across the country for 5 years and then come back and be able to find out where it was. We wouldn't even remember it.
Turtles do the same thing.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Birds do it. They go to certain locations and mate and leave again and come back over the years.
Homing pigeons.
Oh, good point. So there's so many aspects of the animal kingdom that we can't even fathom what's going on. And are they indigenous here? Were they planted here? Are they by genetic design? That the designers of the planet, did they design these things to be here based upon the atmosphere and the water that we are here? Are they all designed to do that, or is that through evolution that is controlled by the source or people that are working with evolution? As a matter of fact, that's the only cat that I know of that actually likes you. He likes a human being. Cats generally could give a shit.
Oh man, I'll tell you, I relate to cats a lot, so I've always had cats that are interactive with me. They follow me around. I used to have a cat that would go for rides with me. She would jump in the car and we'd go grocery shopping, or if I went somewhere, she'd ride on my shoulders, and she liked to get out and go. I've always had cats that like to hang out.
Matt, go ahead.
A nun that I used to visit every Sunday, she had Parkinson's. I'd pick her up, get her in my truck, take her for a ride, give her some food to pick on throughout the week. Fascinating woman, Parkinson's, sharp mind. She loved cats, and the floor cat, every night where she stayed, she could hear its paws on the linoleum floor at night. She barely left her door open for that reason, and she could feel it hop on her bed, circle many times while it purred, and sleep. One day, the cat passed, gone, and then a while later at night, she heard those paws coming down the linoleum floor, sensed it entered her room, felt it hop on her bed, purring, circled many, many times, as it did every night and probably still doing.
It's interesting because my father passed away on December 30th of 2004, and my dog that I loved, and he was a dog person too, and it was a Australian Shepherd Labrador mix, beautiful dog, highly intelligent. He passed on Valentine's Day, and John Edward, the psychic medium, when he read my sister and me, or my sister, for his psychic reading, said that my dad had that dog with him.
Very
So
cool.
dogs do go to heaven with us. Matter of fact, there were two dogs. One of them was, I believe, was named Susie. That was my dad's favorite, and he adopted Crockett when Crockett passed, and because he could describe them, and he described. So they do have souls. They do have a life beyond this one, and which calls into question our meat eating ways and that kind of thing. But that's a thing for another time. Because I've tried being vegan, it ain't pretty. It doesn't work. You can't even buy things that are edible that are vegan. You could throw a loaf of bread through a plate glass window. I shut everybody up with that, didn't I?
I'll take your word for it.
Nobody follow up to that.
It's I was recently watching on YouTube this guy that travels the world, and his thing is that he wants to face his fears and try new things and experience life to the fullest. So he goes on these exotic excursions, and he hooked up with one of the tribes that's living naturally, and their whole life is built around hunting. That's what they do. They hunt. So in one morning at 9 o'clock, they had caught a bat. They had caught some kind of bird and her eggs, a couple of eggs, and they caught a some sort of African deer. I forget what it was, a little baby deer. And they held this deer down and bit its ear so it would scream for its mom, who never came. So the hunter that had this deer pinned, after the mom didn't come after a certain amount of prompting, bit this fawn's neck until it passed. Bit its neck. It's jungular.
Yeah.
And and killed the deer that way. That's as raw and that's as raw as it gets.
Have I just had a thought about this. Have you guys ever noticed that when a lion is going after an antelope or something like that, the antelope kind of when it's been taken down by the lion tends to give up. They don't seem to fight as much. They tend to give up and just let it go. And so they have a whole different attitude about life and death than we do.
I think you're right, because I have seen videos like that where they just succumb at some point, and maybe that's common sense, because what are you going to do when you're in the jaws of a lion? It's going to hurt more if you just don't let them kill you. So I don't. It's sort of horrid, but it's also part of that accepting yourself as part of nature. That might be the horrible part. The biggest fear that humans have is accepting our place in nature, that we spend our whole lives trying to get away from. We brush our teeth, we wash our hands, we use indoor plumbing, we go to the refrigerator to pour ourselves a cool glass of water, we use milk that's been pasteurized. We do all this stuff that's been absolutely removed from nature. And that's how we start our day before we get in our car, turn on the ignition, and drive to work on something that has nothing to do with biting the jugular vein of a baby deer so that we can eat and feed our family.
Exactly. And some of us have a refrigerator full of food, yet they have a cheese sandwich and wheat thing.
Did you read my Facebook page?
I did, as a matter of fact.
I sort of picked up on that.
Yeah, if you guys didn't see it, he shows a picture of a plate with a cheese sandwich and wheat thins on it.
It was a peanut butter, jelly, and bacon sandwich.
And you're still alive.
It's still burping.
I thought I was weird eating grilled cheese and jelly, but okay.
Oh, grilled cheese and jelly.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
It's so good. You can't knock it until you try it. You have to try
That
it.
sounds interesting. I'll have to try that.
Yeah, my
That
dad used
sounds
to.
completely natural to me.
It is. It comes from Minnesota.
My dad used to eat peanut butter and onion sandwiches, and I think it was because he didn't want his wife to come near it. But that's just me.
A little secret to a successful marriage.
That's right, honey. You smell
French
like
garlic
onion.
dip.
Exactly. I got to tell you guys, these are some of the most fun conversations that we have because they're lighthearted, they're fun, and we don't mean anything by them, do we?
No, not that I know.
No.
We certainly don't solve any problems or come up with any answers to major questions. We just leave a lot of people out there going,
What are they smoking? We do live in Washington State, so it is legal. So don't bother us.
"That's right, that's right."
Yeah, I was thinking, Eric. I used to downtown when I was driving my bus. I would see a guy with a cat that was
Oh
on his
yeah,
back. Have you seen him?
yeah. I talked to that guy once.
Did you? Because that
Yeah.
that guy and that cat are like inseparable, and that cat just stays on his shoulder, and they get on the bus, and the cat doesn't get off and doesn't get scared and stuff. So they've formed a bond between the human and the cat that is just amazing.
Yeah, it is solid, man. That is solid.
So what did he have to say for himself? Did you ask him why he was doing that?
I did. I said, doesn't your cat ever try to run? Is it handles, the dogs and stuff? And he had a dog on a leash. And he says, well, the dog looks out for the cat. I don't ever have to worry. And sometimes the cat looks out for the dog. Is that the same guy that you're talking about?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
sort of
so.
a younger guy.
Yep, homeless, I believe, or
Yeah.
close, if not close to it.
Yeah. He's got a pretty good thing happening there as far as, a trio.
And I didn't think originally when I was younger, I didn't think that animals were, especially cats, were that intelligent. But we had two, and one was named Rusty and one was named Groucho, and they would sit by the plate glass, sliding glass door, and one day a cat came through the yard, and the more aggressive of them which is the whole black one. I opened up the screen door because they were both screaming to get out, and the one cat was tackled by the other cat before he could get to the other cat. If that makes
Really?
sense.
Really?
So it was like he was protecting. He was like, "Calm down, Rusty. You're not supposed to go out there and hurt this other cat and stuff." So they are so much more intelligent than we give them credit for.
Oh yeah, Sheba's pretty sharp in a lot of ways. She's very interact when we have guests over. She likes to hang out and be part of the conversation. And she knows when I come home. She jumps off the bed and runs out and greets. They have this connection. They know what's happening. And at the same time, when she uses a litter box, she reaches outside the litter box and scrapes litter that does not exist and tries to cover up her little poop. So I give her credit, where she deserves credit, but I also have to point out that she also tries to scrape up non-existent kitty litter.
That's
talking about you.
Yeah.
She knows I'm talking about her right now.
I knew a family where their son had a cat, very affectionate, and unfortunately the son lost his life at a young age. And my buddy and his wife would be in a room, and they would sense that their son Alan was there. And they'd call the cat and ask, "Where's Alan?" And the cat would kind of like do a little dance, and then would walk to one part of the room and kind of leap upwards like it's trying to grab something.
Whoa.
But the cat was basically, they interpreted that the cat knew and was identifying where their son was because they could just feel the vibes that he was with us.
Wow.
And their eyesight is got a bigger spectrum than ours does, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, she I've talked about the lady with long hair before that spun my bed and so forth.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she knows about that person, and we've also had a cat here. She knows about that cat, and she just watches. She's left the room a couple of times, but she usually just watches.
Now, have you had that lady come back?
She walked through the room about a week and a half ago, but she didn't my direction.
Do you have any idea who it is?
No, well, I have a hunch it's the mother of the landlord. Just a hunch. I don't, I have no.
Why is she messing with the bed, Kayla, amongst other things?
Get your attention.
She
Yeah,
got
surely
it.
will.
Yeah.
She got it.
I think it's a great grandma, by the way.
Think it's a great grandmother.
A great grandma, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the other thing that next time we need to talk about is psychic abilities. And because Kayla, it's interesting since she started this little podcast of ours, because I think because of the energy that is produced through it, she is getting major hits about it and the people that are on it. And sometimes she wrote down a whole page of information about one of the guests, and just let him know that. Well, and he thanked her because it was all true.
Mhm.
So it's that in itself is an unexplainable thing.
Just comes.
We're connected in ways we don't understand. It's part of the ways
Exactly.
in why aliens are proudly watching us.
Or generating us. Who knows?
Way to
Yeah.
segue
Generating.
back,
Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Eric. Way to segue back to the original kind of talk, because we were talking about aliens and UFOs and stuff.
Right.
So Matt, what have you enjoyed this conversation? What do you think?
Well, I love it because everybody has a different perspective about it. So you get quite an education because we're on the what if side and we're doing process
Excuse
of
me.
elimination and mixing all the popular stories. So I love it. I always leave these places thinking more, enlightened, so to say.
Kayla?
I just love it. I like getting everybody's opinions, different aspects. It's intriguing to learn and talk about all these things because a lot of people want to hear it, but yet don't know how to hear it nor express it. So it's intriguing to put it out here. There are aliens, UFOs are real.
Well, it's interesting because there are people that have been indoctrinated into a particular belief system, be it a religious system or a political system, and they don't accept that there can be more. There can be more out there, and there is just a lot more than we'll ever know until we get there, and then we'll go, well, hell, of course,
Yeah,
yeah, aha, I get it now.
Where's this light bulb, Eric? We need your light bulb. Aha.
Yeah. Okay, and so Eric, what's your opinion about that?
I fully support Matt's view on this.
We were just asking, what do you think of all this, and do you enjoy this conversation?
Oh, absolutely. This was fun. I think we certainly covered a lot of ground on it.
We do every time. That's, I think, why Paulette, I think that's who's listening. I think she listens. Either that, yep, Paulette is listening, or she just turns it off and walks away. One of the two.
Hey,
Or turns it
Paula.
on and walks away. Kayla, were you waving at her? Did you have
Yeah, I was
something?
waving at her. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Well, all of you, it's been fun. Anybody have any last words before we wrap it up?
Keep
Thank
looking
you.
up.
This is
Thank
fun.
I'm sorry. What, Eric?
They keep looking up. This is fun. This is I hope they leak. I hope they say more than what they're leaking. I hope they take a stand and say, we don't know what it is, but we know that it's not from here. Because if it's not us, it couldn't possibly be anybody but us.
Right. And I if you look at the films that have been done, we do not have the technology to be able to do what we don't have the body structure to be able to do what they can do. Because they can take a G-force that would kill the normal person, because they can do a right turn at 16,000 miles per hour. They've got that documented. So
those G-forces, two forces make us go like this.
Exactly. My cousin was telling me about he's a pilot, and he was in the Air Force, and when they went through like 5 or 6 Gs, they have a suit that they wear that contracts the extremities and pushes the blood back to the brain, and they have to scream a lot because the brain tends to lose blood and everything rushes to your extremity, and so you pass out. So that's how they kept him from passing out.
It's like a full body athletic cup.
And yes, indeed, that would protect you. So in any event, guys, I've got another podcast to do, and we're going to talk to the lady about a bubble bath and a Bengal tiger.
I love it. Good luck.
Well, you're certainly welcome to come back on and listen to that if you want to, and everybody else can as well. So thank you, guys. Kayla, any last words?
Love you all.
Matt?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Eric?
Thanks, guys. It was fun.
And we're going to come back, and they'll be here again next week, I promise. And we're going to make them unless Matt gets abducted by aliens again.
Ooh, Matt.
I need your hat.
My hat?
Yeah, I need that. Okay. Remember, they said when you're done with it, I'm supposed to have it next.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got it.
Everybody, you have a great afternoon, and thank you for listening.
Thanks,
we'll be back
folks.
next week.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we've got. See you next time on My Independence Report.